I've complained in some of my earlier videos that the first few episodes of the final season of The Boys have been stalling and holding out for a bit too long now. Well, I'm definitely not complaining about the 6th episode, because things are finally set into motion to head for a proper closure. All the talk about finding the elusive V1 that both Homelander and the boys were after finally concludes with the boys tracking down Bombsight's girlfriend to force him to come down to meet them. But there's this twist that jolts their mission big time. Sister Sage, who's now joined their ranks, anticipates that Soldier Boy would never hand over the V1 to Homelander, but she's terribly wrong. In a final show of love for Homelander, Soldier Boy gives him the V1, and the episode ends on this perilous note as Homelander shows the early effects of V1. But what if it's not V1 that Homelander received? What if Soldier Boy has been duped and the story is headed for yet another twist? In this video, I'll explore these bizarre possibilities that might change the ending of the show in unexpected ways. So, if you aren't up to date with everything that's happened so far, Butcher and the boys have nearly perfected the soup-killing virus, but have hit one roadblock. Soldier Boy, who got the first specimen of Compound V, called V1, is immune to the virus even though it does some temporary damage. But Homelander's not so lucky, and he grows desperate to find the V1 to buy himself immortality after finding out that the virus can destroy him. The boys want the V1 too, before Homelander can get some for himself. It all boils down to Bombsight, another World War II era soup like Soldier Boy, who apparently has some V1 with it. In the 6th episode, it's revealed that Bombsight is holding on to the V1 for his girlfriend, who's aged and refuses to take it because she sees immortality as a curse. He refuses to hand over the V1 until Soldier Boy arrives, and after a brief fight, he convinces Bombsight to give him the V1. It's a defining moment in the show as Soldier Boy proceeds to hand over the V1 to Homelander because of some twisted love for his ex, and maybe because of some fatherly affection for Homelander. The immediate effect of the V1 on Homelander takes everyone by surprise. Butcher, MM, Sister Sage, Frenchie, and Kimiko watch in horror as his laser beams turn so intense that they reach the skies, and Homelander seems to be in excruciating pain for a while. Now the real question is, did he just take the curse of immortality upon himself and turn into a demigod? Or is it even V1 that he injected himself with? So, first things first, let us consider the possibility that Homelander actually becomes immune to the soup-killing virus. Butcher and the boys have no easy ways to kill him now because he's effectively immortal. That being said, if you remember the events from earlier, Soldier Boy did get knocked out for a while before he recovered after being exposed to the virus. This can be utilized as a small window of opportunity to destroy Homelander or restrain him somehow, but this doesn't sit well with me. I mean, did we go so far into the show only to get such an anticlimactic closure? This is what leads me to think that he might not have received V1 in the first place. I don't know much about this Bombsight fellow, but he'd have to be pretty dumb to show up with all his cards in a crisis. Look at the odds for it. He's up against the boys, and the love of his life is kidnapped and held ransom against the V1. Why would he show up with the V1 in his pockets without a plan B? Unless his IQ matches the D. From what I've seen of the soups from Soldier Boy's time, they're not really dumb, and I think that Bombsight has either kept a backup or he showed up with something entirely different. He saved the V1 for his lover all this while. He keeps convincing her to use it every once in a while, but she consistently declines the offer. But he still lives with the hope that he can convince her, and they can then spend an eternity together. I'm talking about the kind of hope that keeps a person going, and Bombsight needs a fair amount of that if he's going to continue living. Why would he give up on that just because of a few words from Soldier Boy? He doesn't even like Soldier Boy to begin with, and this leads me to wonder if he's actually stored the actual V1 elsewhere and showed up with a fake one. It seems convincing because Soldier Boy offers him the gift of mortality using his radioactive blast, and he bleeds after so long. But I just think that this is really thick plot armor. If a man who's lived so long and is convinced about eternal life suddenly wants to get it over with, if he has the original V1 samples elsewhere, he could just get out of this alive and reuse it again to regain his agelessness. He might even have an extra sample for when his lover agrees to live forever with him. Also, let's consider this for a moment that we haven't seen the full extent of Homelander's transformation. It does look like he's now even more powerful and embracing these extreme power surges, but the real picture could be something else entirely. What if what we see in the final moments of episode 6 is basically Homelander in a lot of pain because he's just injected himself with something strange or even a poisonous concoction? From what I know of the comic book series, Homelander without a godlike immunity and immortality would be a better fit to finish things off. Another major spoiler alert, but in the source material, Starlight survives the endgame, and this is not happening in the show if she doesn't get her hands on V1. Now, I'm not convinced that the show's even trying to replicate the original story because there have been so many major changes, but this seems too big to alter. I don't know, guys, something just doesn't sit right with me on this, and I think there's a foul play somewhere. It might be Sister Sage playing games, or it might be Soldier Boy with something up his sleeve, or it might just be Bombsight, who pulled off a masterstroke by fooling the smartest person in the world and the strongest person in the world. I cannot wait for the next episode to be released, because then I'll finally have my answers. Given the title of the second to last episode, I have a feeling that some major deaths are along the way, and I just hope that they're not at the hands of Homelander, who's now turned into a demigod, because in that case, only a Compound V injected terror can bring him to justice. Jokes aside, I would love to hear your take on the matter in the comments. I know this is a rather wild theory, and I might even be overthinking on this one, but somehow I haven't been able to wrap my head around the sudden change in Soldier Boy, or how easy it'll be for Homelander to take over the world if he actually took V1. If you appreciate the efforts to bring you this content, please hit the like button and subscribe to our channel for more videos. Ring that bell icon so you don't miss any future ones, and as always, stay marvelous.